Hi, everyone. Welcome to Core Office Hours every other Thursday. We're moving it to Thursday. Today's a conversation. We're going to be talking about core. I'm going to be sharing core, but just like we started a second ago with Sid and the different folks that are here today, let's just make it very interactive. So welcome, bienvenidos, bienvenidos. For those of you watching the recording, like, share, and subscribe. Gotta ask, like, share, and subscribe. And also for those of you who don't know me, and I know most of you here do, I'm Jose Caballer. I am the Chief Experience Officer, Chief Creative Director, co-founder of the system. I co-founded the school in 2013, which later became the Future. And many of you are here, or you are all here because of that, because Core is sold on the Future. Core Discovery, the author of Core Discovery. The mission for the system and my mission and our mission collectively is to transform designers globally into business grade designers. Part of that, if you've ever read what I read about getting a seat at the C-suite table, like being able to be impactful in your work by being at the table, because that is one of the places that you can do it. And so I try to model that, but we're also globally. We're all over the world. Sid, Canada, it is in North America, but we need to add Canada to this diagram. Rwanda, Romania, there's people from everywhere. Maybe there's not enough dots on here. Here's the agenda for today. We're gonna drop in. I wanna spend time having this be interactive. I'm gonna give you a little preview, but maybe you can also ask questions ahead of time, during the drop-in. We'll just do the drop-in. The upload at the end, which is, what did you get out of it today? And music and no cookies, which is just chilling, hanging, and talking. So here's the drop-in, and I'll model it. Name, location, what you do, and are you a core user? Have you used it? What do you want to get out of today's session? So I'll model it. I'm Jose Caballer, as I just said. I'm in Los Angeles. What do I do? I am a creative director, UX designer. I'm a designer. I'm a graphic designer. I am a core user, and I've been using it for a really long time because, running an agency, it's a lot. And I came from a big agency background to start my own agency and to work with startups. And as you know, the ADD is so powerful there that, getting CEOs, CTOs, marketing people, designers, developers, all aligned and wrangled is just super hard. So Core was designed to allow for that in the room, really fast, live, almost like it's the hardest part, I think, of transitioning into being a facilitator or doing this, that it's not just a piece of paper and they fill out questions, you do it live. And what do I want to get out of today? I've used it for hundreds of projects. I've used it so many times. I've used it for myself. I've used it for friends. I've used it for family. I've used it for so many different people all over the world. And the impact to myself and to those people has been this just progressive growth, including for myself. What do you want to get out of today's session? I want to hear and listen to people, questions, improvements, things that are confusing, that don't like. Just really have a real conversation, because Core is really it's a facilitation framework. So just a facilitated conversation, say what's on your mind, and let's have fun. All right, and I'll choose Sid to go next.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sid. I am originally from London, England, and I am currently located in a small town in Southern Ontario, Canada. I am a strategist, facilitator, and coach, and I help small business owners build businesses they love to work in. Yes, I'm a core user. I've been using it for a couple of years, and in that time, I've helped a lady that came to me saying she wanted to build her marketing freelance into an agency, and I've used Core to figure out that's not what she wanted to do. She actually wanted to live by the sea and start a furnishing brand. So that's, Core's been really transformative in that. I've helped a PhD graduate who was looking for her next thing, and she realized, and I used Core to figure out she never wanted to write a report again. So we used that to kind of build out what she would do as in advocacy and set her on a path to start building her own social enterprise. So it's been really transformational. It's been very had a lot of different uses. For today's session, I'd love to I'm really excited to see what's new after all these years, what's changed, and maybe try and figure out where that change has come from as well. Just talk to all you guys. Thank you. You're muted.
Can you choose somebody, Sid, to go next?
Andy?
Perfect.
Okay, hey everybody. My name is Andy Lee, and I'm from not too far away from Sid. Actually, I'm from Mississauga, Ontario, so just really close to Toronto. And I am a web designer, content creator, brand strategist. I guess thanks to Core, and I have to say, Jose, your program has definitely changed my life. At the beginning of the pandemic, I was fortunate enough to be able to onboard a client, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, I kind of knew what I was doing.
Got it. We heard the majority of that, but it was powerful.
Yeah. So I managed to onboard one client, and one of my dream clients, because it was in the sustainability field. And I hit my first like 5-figure client, and I'm still working with them today and doing some content creation with them as well. So I really use the framework, and I've had to kind of go back and rewatch a lot of the stuff and a lot of your case studies. I'm really looking forward to see where Alchemista has sort of evolved to, because I think that was one of the case studies that we were looking at. And I definitely look to like the development of it as sort of a template for me, and it helps me to kind of learn really well, a lot better when I see it in action. I've used Core for another client. I haven't fully finished into it, but I guess we'll get into it later in terms of where I have some difficulties. And I'm currently using Core right now for personal trainer out in New Zealand, and it's been very revealing. Like he definitely feels it's so comprehensive in terms of like what he's learning about what he can do with his business right now. It's a little bit daunting because there's just so much for him to do, but it's been pretty eye-opening to go through that process. So so what I want to get out of the session is just to see how it's evolved to, and like what Sid was saying, where 3.0 is going. Thanks, guys.
Beautiful. Thank you, Andy. Pick somebody.
Jeremiah.
Great.
Jeremiah.
Awesome. Thank you, Andy. What's up, everyone? My name is Jeremiah. I am located in Phoenix, Arizona, here in the Southwest, and I am a brand strategist and designer. I work with holistic practitioners and conscious business owners. Kind of my mission is to help them have a better impact on the planet and the people on the planet. In regards to me being a core user, I am. I've been using this as a part of my process pretty much from day one. And it's been very beneficial. I started doing web design and just graphic design for my clients. And, through this framework, it's really allowed me to really be in alignment with them and uncover a lot of useful insights that I can use to apply in the design process. Lately, I've kind of shifted because I'm seeking to solely provide strategy to my clients. And, in more recent months, I have been able to sell strategy alone. So today, what I'm seeking is just to learn from others' experiences as well as figure out how I could potentially evolve my process to better serve and support my people. And I'm complete. Beautiful. Thank you. I will go with Michael.
Michael's
okay. Yeah. Let's see. Lost my voice a little bit from a cold and the flu here. So, my name is Michael. My location is 50 miles south of LA. What I do is illustration, fine art, and some consulting. I've been getting people contacting me to help them sometimes with their business based on my comments that I've been making on YouTube and the independent news movement that's come up lately. I got core in 27. Go ahead.
No, keep on going.
I got core in 2017, and I use it not all the time, but it's definitely an important part of how I approach projects. So I use it occasionally when needed. So I've helped small business owners and friends. And what I want to get out of this meeting comes through my interest now in the independent news movement, most specifically the Midas Network on YouTube and Bo of the Fifth Column on YouTube. And also somebody who you might have heard of, Audrey Tang.
Michael, what do you want to get out of it? Just you.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I want to
just want to make sure we have time. So what? I don't understand what you want to get out of it. You want to see how you can apply it to the independent news movement? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Got it. Perfect. As a business. Thank you. Pick somebody to go next.
All right. Hania.
There you go. Thank you, Michael.
Okay,
appreciate
thank you. Hello. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, and let's keep them really brief because I want to get into it and I don't want to do too long. I don't want us to have to be here too long to go through this. We want to get into the meat. Thank you, Hania.
Okay. I'm senior user of Core as well. So I'm using Core since, I guess, 2 years. I'm scientist. I'm located in Berlin. I have joined the community because I'm very much interested in creation. I'm very curious of how you express yourself, and I have learned Core. And Core is useful to me because I'm developing workshops for companies, trying to, making a combination to analyze the psychology of the company, psychology with customers, how the communication of science should be improved for the society. And that has been a journey, also a process, because I'm a scientist, really, learning to communicate through Core. So what I'm doing is really most of the time workshops with my groups, with people that I'm working. And because Core, I have been involved in design thinking as well. So I'm very close to Jose. I love the idea. And Jose, I can support you in your new development, what you think. I'm here.
Thank you, Hania. Appreciate that.
I would like to invite Maxwell to speak. I don't know if he.
Hi.
Thank you.
Friends. So good to see you guys again. So my name is TJ. I'm located in Western Canada in Alberta, Edmonton to be specific. I've been using Core right from jump. It was actually my very first thing I bought from the future. So thanks for getting me addicted to the whole future thing, Jose. So what I hope to get out of this is actually more clarification on the money aspects of Core. So I go through Core with all my new clients, but then when I get to the money aspect of things, I get hung up on that. So if there would be more workshop and clarification on that, that'll be so helpful. And unfortunately, I'm not able to
Money
say
as in how much to charge?
No, well, I already have that figured out, but like when it comes to the money aspect of slides, where you're kind of aligning the money
Oh,
goals,
got it,
that's
got
where
it,
I
got it,
get
got
hung
it.
up. Yeah,
Revenue.
yeah.
Yep.
So unfortunately, I'm not able to stay for the whole presentation here, but I'm hoping I can catch that in the replay. So
In
thank
the
you
recording,
so
yeah.
much.
We'll answer that. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
TJ. Appreciate you. Can you pick somebody to go next?
Yes, Michael Sancanto. Apologies if
Yeah,
I
Michael
butchered
already
your-
went. So we have
Oh.
Sid or Clifford.
Let's go with Clifford, my man Clifford.
Yeah, those are the last two people, Sid and Clifford.
Hello. This is Clifford Washington from New York City. I am a senior.
Hey, Cliff.
I'm a senior product designer in healthcare marketing, and I also do brand strategy for my own consulting. I am a Core user. I've been using Core since the pandemic started in 2020 when we all initially came together. How have I used it? I've mainly used it with small business entrepreneurs to really help them understand what it is they do and how to serve their people, serve their audience, and also how to find their audience. What I want to get out of this session, just to really reconnect with the community. I haven't been on a Core office hour in a little bit. So I'm just really glad to be back and seeing everybody and talking to everyone. And I, looking forward to seeing the Alchemista case study. I'm familiar with it somewhat from Core and some materials that Jose sent me in the past. So I look forward to taking a look at that and see how, if anything from that I can put into my practice.
Beautiful. Thank you, Clifford. So I think that's everyone. So what was the other person that, is that everyone? Yeah, that's going to go. And if there's anybody, you can also do to drop in the chat. Thank you everybody for dropping in. So the Q&A, again, interactive. You can ask questions in the chat while I'm going through this. I'm going to go fairly, I won't say slow. I'll just say just as concisely as possible. And if there's anything that needs clarification or you guys want me to add, that'd be great. Your questions are super valuable. So but first of all, just starting from the beginning a little bit, like core discovery, it's just a simple way to understand, prioritize, and focus your clients on a clear vision and help them get to their goals. It's a discovery framework, which is part of the design process when you find out what exactly you're going to design. And one of the parts that we skip often enough, if you remember the beginning, the goal was to take people from order taker, hey, designer, please, do this for me. I need a logo, I need a website, I need a social media campaign, etc. I need some new packaging design, to being a strategic leader. And one of the reasons, a very personal reason for me, was that there's so much friction in the process when that doesn't happen, and there's so much fear or uncertainty for the client and for the designer or the creative team or the team in general, that being able to put everybody in the room to get a real conversation going right from the beginning is super important. So that's really one of the main things of why Core works. So Core works because it offers really fast alignment. You don't have to spend weeks, months, or a long time figuring that out with your clients and going back and forth. Usually our alignment happened once we were designing and in the form of feedback, which means you take more time to do the work, revision after revision. And that has been how the conversation is done. I'm actually watching a show on Apple TV called Mythic Quest, which is hilarious, but it's from the video game industry. And the script is almost written in a way that they're saying the truth about what they're really saying or thinking or feeling. So for example, when a creative director or the stakeholder tells the team, hey, we have 3 projects due tomorrow, and the whole team says, oh, I'm going to go call my wife and my kids because they're going to have to do an all-nighter. Traditionally, designers and creatives have been in that role in the video game industry. It's very common. But for us, as we become more powerful and are able to facilitate instead of just taking orders, that's what Core was created for, just to avoid that and have a better quality of life, make more money, etc. The other aspect of it, why it works, is that when people participate, they're included in the process, all the stakeholders, the decisions get made faster, but also they have ownership. So you can say, well, you made that decision. That's your priority and your goal. You were in that session. And that's why giving the decisions back in the form of a brief, which I'll talk about in a minute, it's really important. And then clarity and focus. I'm exactly clear on what it is that I'm designing, what it is that we're building, what the priorities are, et cetera. So that's kind of a rough overview of what core is. And most of you here are core practitioners, but if you're watching this, that gives you, I mean, I'll recap them: fast alignment, participation by the stakeholders, clarity and focus. It just makes things move, faster and better and smoother. Top 3 questions from the community that I've heard over the last few years. The last core update was in 2020. And I'm going to included in this update is a lot of what happened between 2020 and 2022. For me, as a designer and as a teacher, I can really only teach what I've experienced. I have a hard time like grabbing concepts and putting them into the process diagrams, et cetera, unless I've actually been there and done it. I'm what's called a kinetic learner. I don't learn through just words and reading stuff. I learn only through doing, or better through doing. And that's how core has been designed. And we're beginning to improve the more, checklist and process parts in across the board. But that's why I always say, please watch the videos and you'll get a lot of the answers there. Even though some of the answers, like the answer that TJ had about revenue, how do you come up with revenue ideas? There are specific solutions for that. And it does give me an idea of potentially providing just what are the business models possible, so that you just have a list of business models that you can apply. These are the top 3. Can I get an example of a core brief? So many people ask, and like Cliff said, I usually just provide some of the examples that I have. I have so many, just choosing one is sometimes hard. Do I need to do all the exercises? That's one of the biggest questions. And the third one is, what is the data matching exercise for? Which is similar to the question about revenue. So with that in mind, here are the new improvements for core, the 3.0 version. The first one is we divided the exercises from primary, and I'm going to turn off the edit function here in Keynote. Usually I do these in Google, but today, because there was so much stuff to go through, I actually just did it in Keynote. So edit, spelling and grammar, boom, there you go. That turns out that little line. Divided the exercises into primary and secondary, meaning like the first 3 exercises and the next 3. Renamed the secondary exercises for clarity. Added the Alchemista design presentation, like what did it look like when we were done with it and we presented to the client. A core brief and a video going along, kind of talking about what are the components of it and why I do it that way. And again, core is a modular system. You can mix it up. A full package and rebrand case study. This is the whole story, again, in video format. And in addition with that, you'll see I'm also going to give the actual templates, the presentations for that. And introduction videos for each exercise. So just like hey, hello, before you do this exercise, let me give you an overview of it. Those are the things that we're working on right now in the thick of it as we speak. It's been fun and a lot of work. So here are the exercises, right? How they're divided. You're familiar with this. Brand attributes, customer profiles, and goals prioritization. Those are the primary exercises. Secondary, core positioning, feature brainstorm, and customer journeys. So they're now divided into 2, just as a classification. And with the notes, it will now allow you, it has an introduction. Each section has an introduction as to when to do it, when not to do it, how to do it, and the video will say also that. And then the last 3 parts are the new parts, the Alchemista Stylescapes, core briefs, and the rebrand case study. Here's the name. So to answer TJ's question, around the middle of December, so I have about, I was thinking the 10th, so about the 10th to let's say that between the 10th and the 15th, if that makes sense. And and I'm going to make it a little bit more interactive, meaning the last core office hours for the year, we'll do a recap and we'll talk about, questions, etc. But you'll start seeing it on the platform, on the Futures platform soon. The platform can be updated at any time. So one idea is to update it progressively as things get completed, like at all the different sections. One note, and to give a shout out to Iwana and to Christina Testana and to Colleen Kyoko, the new 3.0, you have Iwana and her team to thank for the color palette and a lot of the design, where the design has evolved to. So that's just a little side note. And a thank you to Iwana and her guidance and love. Secondary exercises. So before it was called attribute clustering, which is actually a real funny name. And I'm now like, oh man, I am such an a-hole in the way that I name things, because it just sounds, attribute clustering, what the hell is that? It's really positioning. It's really a way to, it's a way to really, here, let's just go through it. So the best way I'm going to explain it, by the way, these green dots in the keynote mean that the slide is done, because there's like 250 slides and I've had people helping me with it. So it's a system there. So when you have all those attributes and you do the brand statement, it's sometimes really like broad in general. And how do you hone in into what I call a wedge? And the wedge, and that's why there's a triangle behind it, it's just like, what is the primary thing? So magically transported to health. So there are core tips in this section now that explain why the exercise is important. And in addition to that, some nuances about it. So this is a new style for core tips, and you'll see it throughout the kit. Whenever this comes up and it's a light blue, it means that it's a tip. And one of the most important things you could probably do is, if you're watching, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you should. Thanking Todd and the strategic guidance. We're really focusing on narrowing the focus of both content and product to core, obviously, because it's the most important part of the system. And it's the core of the system. The lives that I'm doing every Tuesday and Thursday are, one, we get to talk, and TikTok. Thank you, and TikTok. Actually, I'm gonna actually do this live here, because TikTok 0 is actually, and TikTok is Jose Caballer 0. The idea is this, that we get to design live, but I'm also walking you through the reason why that exercise, the positioning, works. So for Alquimista, magically transported to health, is that a tagline? Is it a positioning relative to the competition? You'll see that when I show you Alquimista, because we did a competitive audit. You want to find a wedge and a spot in the marketplace, and the easiest way is to go to what I call basically narrative. It's a narrative form. It goes from, hey, hello, how are you? And then you make someone feel a certain way. So the voice really drives personality, and it drives copy, it drives all those components. And then when you make someone feel, let's say in this case, transported, and the impact is you feel healthier, or you are healthier. In this case is a tangible one. That's really the reason for that. And one thing that, not for this release, but maybe for a future release, actually, it's in the case study for everyone, for EO. You'll have all the slides of the competitive research, which was extensive, and it was done by an amazing team. So you'll see how much you can do and how little you can do. So the two examples are, some examples are lighter, and then some examples are a lot heavier, and you might not have the capability to do all those things, but at least you'll see it, and you'll do a light version of it, if that makes any sense. So that's the positioning. The other thing that got renamed is data matching to feature brainstorm. So I was working with the designer on this that is helping me out. And one of the things that, well, she was trying to understand it herself, and she's a UX designer. So it was really interesting, her point of view on it. And the reason for not only the change, feature brainstorm is what it is. And in the simplest way I can explain it is this, and this exercise the prioritization exercise and this particular exercise were designed by Barrett Morse, who was one of the partners at my agency, The Group. We had a conversation about this the other day. He loves this exercise. And at the time we called it weaving, but it's simply a way to brainstorm and to connect. You don't have to do it in the form of the exercise, but the thinking is the top 3 customer needs. So you focus on those, and the top 3 business objectives. So if you think about a relationship, what is the value that we exchange? So if the business needs to make more money and the customer is in a process of transformation in their lives, I say that one of the users is a 29-year-old or 28-year-old, and they're like, oh my God, I got to get my life together. So the copy, the inclination is like, hey, are you looking to make a change in your life? Buy our product, join our whatever community, whatever it is to get them into the funnel. That's that simple ideas, right? To brainstorm, but the more fidelity that you get from it. So for example, DIY kits is one revenue thing. And to answer TJ's question, what are the products, what are the services that the business is offering that makes it revenue, period? It could be anything, including like, tertiary things like, we have an investment product, that's the product. So that's really what that brainstorm is. Like, prioritize what you're focusing your product portfolio on. Remember that the core was created to do startups. So, and small businesses are similar to a startup. They just do less planning and it's a little bit more ad hoc. But that's it. You collide those 2 things and you come up with as many ideas, and then you move on to the next one. You come up with as many ideas. You move on to the next one. You come up with as many ideas, and you keep it fast in time box, and it's fun. And by the end of the brainstorm, here's what it tries to do to avoid. If you've ever been in a corporate meeting where everyone is, like rustling for power and the ideas are only heard by the people who are the most talkative or the most senior or the most aggressive, it doesn't allow for the whole team to participate in the ideation about the business. So that's all. These exercises are designed obviously to be inclusive. This one in particular is designed to quickly brainstorm how to prioritize the business based on a direct connection to the user profiles and to the brand to the revenue goals, to the awareness goals, and to the efficiency goals. That's it. It just puts people into a lane that's very narrow and really clear and makes you connect those dots fast. Otherwise, this would take forever and people would throw out stupid ideas and like, it's not related. Well, no idea is stupid. Sorry, in facilitation. It's not related to the previous. So that's why it's divided into alignment and translation. You align with the first 3 exercises, then you translate them into features, ideas, etc., that then go into, of course, which is what I'm going to show you next, which is the Alchemista design. So in the process, and both in the Alchemista design and in the Everyone case study, the Everyone case study is a really big rebrand, and it's in-house. And I was there as a leader, and I created a brand studio with the existing employees and people that we brought in and hired. So when you see that, you'll notice that it's very different than you doing a project for a small business or a client, even though they're not like they weren't like a huge corporation, but they were big enough that there was a lot of friction in the process, as it is in every case. So for the Alchemista designs, the whole deck, and again, the caveat here is we did the Alchemista design with the entrepreneur herself, with our community, Christina, Colleen, Jeff, Porsche, a bunch of us in the community worked on it. And it was just an exercise to see how to do it. So for the question, anyone who has a question, Andy or TJ, is like, where is Alchemista right now? They're building the business. It's taking time because, life and all that stuff, COVID. But this is just an example that you guys can use to see, oh, this is how we do it. And then you'll see the same thing reproduced in the Everyone case study in slightly different ways than these formats. But you'll have basically the decks for this that you can then apply to your own projects, design them to look however you want them to look, et cetera, for your own business. So we did a competitive audit, and we went through in this process of like checkbox or no. This developed during COVID because the minute that we switched design on everyone from the office, which you'll see some photos, to facilitated, oh my God, we had to switch how we did everything. Now everything was on Zoom. The team was, all over the place. It was like, it was intense. It was a very difficult period for all of us, obviously, but we had to adapt. So one adaptation is to include the stakeholders. So the entrepreneur on Zoom came through and told us what she liked and what she didn't like about all the different examples. And there's a bunch of them in it, and you'll see it in the deck. And you just write the notes on a sticky. In this case, it's just a yellow box, even though they could be a cooler color. And that's it, exactly what she's saying, just bullet, 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 bullet. Because then you're going to use that in the design and to make sure that you know what she doesn't like and what she does like, if that makes sense, what they like and they don't like. So there was 4 directions. I might edit it out down to 3. Here's Christina's direction, what they like. So one comment she made, it looks like high-end mezcal, which, immediately, like you understand now that the bottling, and keep in mind that what you want to do, the way I do it is you want to keep the conversation forward with what they don't like and they do like, with no judgment, so that it's not a personal thing against the designer. It's not like, oh, they didn't like my design. Oh, I feel bad. It's just what it is, right? And you're writing it down. Every time I do stylescapes, I do the same thing. It's like an eye doctor, A or B, A or B. Tell us what you like, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client, from this. She loves the black and white. She loves the symbols. Oh, also the references. So all the references for this from Pinterest, from different places that we gathered and gave to the designers are there. The one step that we missed in this process that we didn't miss in everyone is to review the references really deeply with the client and what they like and what they don't like. The only time that they were able to, actually, no, you know what? They got to see the references. That's not true. The client got to see the references. They were just on Pinterest at that time. So last but not least on this part is the combined, it's not here, but it's included, the combined stylescapes, what it looked like, and then how they combined the design to go into packaging. And Jeff Silva, who was graceful enough to help out with this, is also the designer who led the redesign at Everyone. We had just finished doing that. Well, actually, no. Yeah, we were in the process of doing that while we were doing this. And it was, the process was that, it was a remix. It was going through all of core, getting an agreement, getting the stylescapes agreed, getting all the stakeholders to look at the stuff. I'm going to put a lot of pictures. It's going to be more like a video docu style, me going over all the things that happen in the nuances. So your questions here will help me a lot in finalizing that and what nuances go in there. So that's the Alchemista design for those of you who are curious about that. Please ask questions. All right, so core briefs. In addition to including the briefs, I'm going to talk about like what a core brief, there's all types of briefs, but for core and for this process, how I usually do them. And I'm going to show different variations. One of the things that people have asked is like, well, how do I use it for messaging? So there's a thing for messaging. One of the examples has for messaging. So I'm just going to go through the briefs and talk about them and answer your questions. So this interaction that we're having here today, and as we move forward over the next 3, 4, 5 days, it'd be great to listen to what things you need in there. So one of them is for Web3, and it's the entire brief, and I'll talk through and bullet out like what was in it and how it actually impacted the design. And then you'll also get to see the stylescapes that were presented to the client. Same process, what they liked, what they didn't like. In this case, it got done in a Google Doc. That process repeats over and over and over again in every single case study. Getting core continues, or the process of alignment and hearing out stakeholders inclusively continues throughout the process and iterations and the whole process of designing. So for the rebrand case study, the view that I want to give you is that everything, including the proposal, because this is a unique engagement in that it was A, fairly large, it was a year long, B, it was fairly senior level, it was like chief brand officer, right? And C, it involved a lot of moving parts. You might not get to a point yet, though I want you to get to a point to where you can walk into a company and take over their brand and facilitate all the stuff, right? That requires like, serenity now, because it is cray, right? Always, there is no situation where it's not. It's simply just staying in the present. That should be a whole other version, and we'll do that in the system flow, which is how to meditate yourself through a brand rebrand. So everything from the pitch to the CEO and to co-CEOs, to how we position brand alignment. Notice that it doesn't say core anywhere, but here as a little like wink wink, never ignore the core, to the process. What the timeline looked like, discovery, alignment, divergence, which is doing all the three directions, convergence, which is narrowing them down, prototyping, putting different ideas in front, validation, testing the prototypes, refinement, and revalidation before a product launch happened. Remembering that if you're doing a product launch, it's actually pretty big deal for a company if it's a physical product. I have never done a product launch like this, and that's why I hired Jeff and Amy, two very experienced product people, designers, who were at Johnson & Johnson, who've done like tons of massive product launches. And one of the things that they did, knowing that education is really important, Jeff put together a presentation of what a product launch looks like, a case study for Tylenol, for Listerine, for multiple brands, and he showed all the process, what the challenges were to the entire team at this company, at this wellness company. So education, research, we spend so much time shopping and talking to people at the supermarket or at the Whole Foods or at the Target. It was hilarious. References, if you go to eoproducts.com, you'll see the references, and we did the everyone rebrand. We didn't do the EO rebrand, even though we began it. You'll see how the references play a part in what the artwork and what the design looks like, and the briefs. The other thing that I'm going to put in there is a template for you'll see what I'm going to put in there. You'll basically have the insider view and the stuff itself, the documents that were used for this. Again, you can repurpose them for your own needs, etc. And with all core things, this is one where, since it's a live case study and it's a real product and it's in the market, you can go to Whole Foods now and see the redesign, which you should check out next time you're in the supermarket, and check out the before and after of what it was, which will be in there. So that's a quick overview, maybe too long. I'm going to stop and go back to the beginning to make sure I'm doing my list right. Yep, I went through the full packaging rebrand, talked about introduction videos, Alchemista presentation, and the renaming. What else? That's it. I'm complete. Questions, Jeremiah? What's missing? What would you, without us digging deeply? The one thing I didn't mention, there are clarifications and like reorganization of a lot of the sections whenever something is not clear enough in the new design language. I just cleaned it up. We've been cleaning it up as going. It's a bit of work. I think the next one. So that's a good question. So the brief example is a Web3 example as it relates to identity. And it was pretty impactful as it relates to what it was. So one of the things that I did in that time, in the 2 years actually more than two, this was before Core 2.0, is not only did I do it with the team and they went off to design, I also gave it to all the startups in the Web3 ecosystem. So a lot of the startups that have been kind of born out of this Web3 ecosystem use some of the basic core tools to define their product. So yeah, that's the question. So the question was, do you have a Web3 case study? And you know what? We could include, and maybe should, because we have it, themusic.com, the work that you did, Ioana. So that might actually be a good idea. I'm not sure if people would like that. Yes, there you go. And a big shout out to that team. So we've been doing a lot, and basically it's like a reality show. When we finish it, we share it with you. We put it on Teachable, and I just want to say thank you. I'm so appreciative to everybody in our community, to Todd, to the people in my life that have just like focus on core, focus on core, focus on core, focus on core, you know, and that's currently the path. Just, you know, it's a lot of work mentally to sit there and go through all these things and organize them and do them. It's like publishing books. I wish I would have known that before I got into it, but no, I'm joking. It's a pleasure. Any questions? We're at 11:51. We have about 15-20 minutes. Let's make this interactive. What else you want to see?
So I have a question.
Go for it, Gerard.
So I, as I've mentioned, I use this process, and I found it very valuable, and so have my people. But the question that I'm curious is, how can there be a continuation of this after we go through the initial strategy exercises? Is that a thing?
Right.
And
so
maybe this is.
Go ahead.
I was going to say maybe this is a question. I think. Let me look at the panelists really quick, because I think it might have been Sid who does like strategy and coaching. So maybe this is a question for you. Like, how do you continuate? What's your process after the initial discovery?
Yeah. So what I tend to do is essentially do the discovery, and then it's kind of more like coaching, and then I will bring activities and workshops into that coaching. The coaching kind of looks like we meet once every 2 weeks, and we look at how you're getting on with the planning and implementation. Because the biggest thing is you don't, especially with an entrepreneur, solopreneur, they flip-flop with the decision making. Like, I don't know what I'm doing right. The point of doing core is, here's what we're doing, the way I do it. Now let's just make sure we are planning that out properly, and that takes time. It's the difference between consulting and coaching for me. The consultant would say, here's what you're doing. The coach will stay on and help through that process. So I tend to not call myself a consultant, more call myself a coach. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
That's a really good distinction, because I have, for me, like I worked in a space, you know, Razorfish was one of the first digital agencies, and it was a hybrid of, you know, consulting, business consulting, user experience, marketing, and business, right? I already said business, technology, sorry. So those four things. Some of us only specialize and develop or deliver one thing. My agency, the group, did the creative and user experience part, but we had to define it in discovery phase, right? But we didn't build ourselves as strategists. We just built ourselves as a product development shop. But what ended up happening is that clients said, oh my God, you guys can do everything. When we went too wide and got a little too cocky, it was harder to do, because, you know, now you're actually like Sid, they're delivering and doing the follow-up, ensuring that the business is going in the right way and all these kind of things. Yes, and ideally this would be paid. I have a difference, and I voiced it on Twitter, where I agree and disagree with the pricing. So in value-based pricing and in Blair-ins and in like all these things that are designed for studios and for agencies, it is completely makes sense to do high, you know, big ticket item, like you charge more, you have big padding, so that then you can just iterate and iterate and iterate. That's how creative agencies have run and how they stay profitable. Consultancies do a similar model, which is, and I don't know why I'm talking about this, but it does answer the question, and then I'll answer if I'll have a little follow-up, which is what we did fixed price, variable scope, estimated by resource, by sprint, with what the likely outcome would be during the planning, meaning that we didn't make, the discovery phase was separated and we didn't have a contract for the next phase. With Todd at Disney, we did something similar, but a little different, where we did the contract and then we backed into the features by defining them with the developer using agile kind of planning, like user stories. So what I'm wondering, and this is for you, Jeremiah, what the most valuable thing would be to offer as a follow-up to core, either inside core, or like I said, we've been talking a little bit about flow, like how do you put the project in flow? The idea that I got for this is that the diagrams that are there now for like what to do are very broad, that maybe it goes into like phase by phase, what are the activities that you need to be able to do on a project. So like one of them, for example, on a project management level, which Todd, which we did in a previous webinar, which was agreements, like how do you come to agreements with your clients? And maybe that's where the music.com case study might be helpful, because we estimated what the activities were in every sprint. It was 6 sprints. Here's every activity in it. And then as we finish the activity, we're like, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client, hey, we're done with this. This is approved. We're done with this. This is approved. But we were using the project plan, which was also very visual and very like, phase by phase, to drive the, flow of the entire project. Does that make sense, Jeremiah? So it's pricing,
absolutely.
flow, all of it in it. That might be the most valuable thing that we put into core. It's like, here's the project plan for this Web3 client, and here's how we delivered and how we got it approved. And which we did, and we did it. It was crazy, but it was done.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Super valuable information from you, Jose, and also Sid. I appreciate it.
A roadmap for a project. Other questions?
Hey, Jose, I can go. So we were talking about other things to include in core. I was wondering, I don't know if this is like a good idea or not, but maybe some troubleshooting steps in case like you get stuck. Because currently right now, I finished a project with a art therapist, and we cleared core, everything's complete. She came back to me a couple months later, basically saying that she wants to change her direction, basically, and her ideal client is different. So I thought maybe some troubleshooting steps would be really cool.
Great one. So to troubleshoot that one really fast, the question is, are you going to get paid for the additional work? Or is she expecting you to do it, change it a month later?
I feel like I should get paid for this because it is a lot of work still.
Yeah, just make it very clear to her, and make it clear in your initial contract that past delivery, unless you provide a warranty, which is some clients do require it, especially digital clients. Well, big clients, if the code doesn't work, they expect you to fix it. It was a bug, it was a mistake. But if it's a new feature or if it's a continuation of the work, it's new work. And you just tell them, okay, I'm happy to help. Happy to help. We can do the project. Tell me a little bit more what your thoughts are, and I'll put an estimate together for you.
Okay, because initially what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk to her next week via like a video chat, just to kind of see, what has changed between July and now, and just kind of see where her brain is at, like what's on her mind right now, and why she decided to change this, just to kind of see what's going on, right? And then after that, I can kind of determine, okay, what the next step should be.
Yeah, just have a chill conversation with her and find out what's happening in her life and her business. This is where what Sid was saying, being a coach is the important part. That is a bigger conversation too, though. Is how do you continue, like a health check, right? 3 months or 6 months or 1 year, which is what Ioana just said. Yeah, how would you recommend that, Sid or Ioana?
Yeah, I was telling Christina in chat that especially with startups or new ventures, it's good to do a health check at least at 6 months and then 1 year, because once they became live, they actually went out and tested. Is this actually my ideal persona? Is this actually the way they engage with us through our website or social media and so on? So it's good to refine all of these bits of strategy, because it's evolving and getting validated, and it's getting data and metrics. So I'm just assuming this might be the case for you, Christina, but still you need to have the conversation. I'm just hoping it helps. The suggestion helps.
Yeah, Christina, your engagement, was it like a fixed price thing? Was it kind of for a fixed price, I'll do this, but then they've kind of come back and expecting their change of mind to be included in your fixed pricing?
Good question. So basically it was just, I worked within her budget, so fixed price basically. And I didn't deliver all of core to her. I just did like the primary exercises, just like what we were talking about today. And then I did some like a little additional things for her because she didn't really have a brand blueprint down. So she really wanted to get that down. So I added my own little quirks in it. But other than that, I basically just did the project, what was able to do within the budget.
Sure. So this is one of the things I run into with fixed pricing is like, I want to be there to help. I help a little bit too much. And then it gets frustrating for me because I'm like, I need to get paid for this. So what I've had to just kind of start doing is it's a fixed price within these terms and caveats. Maybe that is, where you draw the line on this package deal. The other thing, just to kind of, so I can't remember the person who was speaking before. One of the things the way I position the core session, the strategy session is we're kind of reaching for the stars with this. Like we don't want to look at too much data because we're trying to like reach for what would have to be true if, like we want this, so how do we get it? So and just to kind of hammer that point home, like I do run into a lot of people saying, hey, we need to look at the data. Dude, where was the data that said Google was going to be successful? Where was the data, prior data that says Facebook was going to be successful? So what I do is position this in the core initiative as the hypothesis, because the only way to really know is to go out and launch. So if she's done core with you, she hasn't gone out and launched. She hasn't tested the hypothesis. So what's changed? That's the next big question. And if you do need to do it again, then I do think, we need to do it again. We need to go through the process again, and we need to get deeper onto what's changed for you. So here's the new proposal.
Thank you so much, Sid, for covering that. That was really awesome. Basically, when I did core with her back in July, she felt aligned. And then after that, we were talking about doing website work with her. So I gave her, the feedback in terms of what I need to make a website. And then, after that, she started like reevaluating her direction. So it was kind of weird, but Sid, like, it makes sense that you kind of have to start from the beginning again so that you're not skipping stones.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm going to start incorporating into my external messaging, especially for entrepreneurs and readers, is I'm here to remove your ego from the decision-making process. And I think that is a huge thing for people who want to launch the business, who have more money than they don't, kind of thing. And I'm kind of using that to draw a line under people that I really don't want to work with. But what I'm saying is that's my thing. I'm here to remove your ego from the decision-making process. You might need to consider what your position on your equivalent or relevant position is for you on that, Christina. I hope that helps.
Yeah, gotcha. And I mean, just tying it back to what you said before about her going out to test what we put together, she actually has not done that. She said she started putting together the marketing plan, but she has not done anything else after that. So there's been a lot of hand holding, which is fine. But she hasn't really made the effort to do anything else. She's kind of sitting back and waiting.
Meaning, has she used the identity, like, or the work that you did for her?
So far, all she did was just post it on her Instagram. So she just used the logo that I designed for her and she used it as the icon. Other than that, she has not done anything else. And she was interested in starting a website, like building a website. And she was interested in like a WordPress website. Other than that, nothing else. She's been struggling to figure out what she wants to write and who to speak to on the website. And I keep telling her, you know, it's your ideal client that we made back in the discovery workshop.
Got it. But then the question is, how much experience does she have? She's a solopreneur, so she doesn't necessarily have the experience writing copy per se, and might be hesitant. Or the only insight I can provide, because Sid gave you a pretty powerful one, and it's a good blanket, is just looking at the category of solopreneurs and art therapy, or in mental health. The individual itself as a solopreneur might actually have a challenge in executing a lot of the things that they need to do for their business, building a website, doing the social media, writing copy for newsletters, all these things, email blasts, using, an email system. It's a lot of stuff, right? Some people have the experience doing it because of whatever reason, right? Some don't. Some people hire people. So like getting a sense of how she's executing her business and like what are the activities that she's prioritizing for that. Because referral is like one of the number one ways that, therapists work, right? Would be interesting. I had this conversation, and so mind her experience and get to know how much she actually has, because she might actually need help and support writing copy. You might not be able to do that, but you might have to consult with a copywriter, a friend in your network, and help and say, hey, would you need help with this? Or even to write a style guide, like a copy style guide, which in the in the case study, or the rebrand case study that will include in the primary style guide template, there's how do you, the copywriters wrote how to sound and what are the things, which then we reviewed with the social media person, and then they wrote to the voice of the company. That's a very sophisticated and very high level kind of way, or not high level, but advanced level of the game. For someone who's a solopreneur, it might be a little bit different. The last thing I wanted to say to you was, I had this conversation with somebody in the community about niching and how important niching is, right? But one thing that can happen if you niche the category too narrow is that you might, so for example, mental health, then art therapy, those are two levels, right? And then art therapists, it's the next level. So then you are limiting it to individual practitioners, solo practitioners, versus if it's just mental health and has multiple categories, it might broaden like the scope of the people that hire you. It might be a nonprofit, it might be, a company like that does mental health, stuff. And that kind of increases your possibility of targeting a little broader. Now, of course, if you want to work one-on-one with art therapists, that's fine. You can add that in like the secondary kind of copy, like, hey, we're an agency focused on, or my practice is focused on mental health practitioners, mental health in general, and we work with art therapists, nonprofits, and wellness organizations. You just brought in your target there to 3. That might increase the chances of getting bigger clients that have teams, not just individuals. When you're ready and comfortable for that, that's something that I see in the positioning, your positioning. So thank you for letting me share that.
Thanks, Jose. That was very, very helpful.
Since referrals are really a powerful part of the way that as designers we get business, once you do, like, let's say a few art therapists and you get referrals, you'll get to other art therapists. But in your positioning and your language, you might want to leave it just a little bit broader so that potentially they recommend you to hey, this is my friend who is an art therapist and she's on the board of this organization and they needed a logo, and you're able to charge, $20,000 for just a logo or something like that. I'm making that up. I'm just saying, like a nonprofit, or a $10,000 or $5,000, whatever the price is. Anyway, other questions? Let's do 5 more minutes and then let's do the upload. Okay, let's just do the upload.
Michael had his hand raised up.
Oh, Michael, sorry. Yes, you're right.
Okay, my question, do you have online tools for sprints? I was impressed with what you did on your Discord, I think it was, using Mural or Miro. So are there templates included or directions on how to do that?
For sprints?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. For example, for the case study that is included, we tried different tools. There was the tools that they were using. There's the tools that we recommended. But I'll send you a link in the community specifically for project management tools. And then there's some tools that are emerging now that really at the end of the day, it becomes a matter of choice. But like Sid or anybody here, have you actually worked in Agile and doing sprints?
Kind of, sort of. So actually after finding Core, a year or 2 later, I did my CSPO training. So certified product owner. That was just really interesting for me. So I don't think I've ever applied it to a sprint. I just kind of take from those methodologies. So as CSPO and SAFE, SAF, little e. I like those principles of how to kind of apply it to a business. In terms of a sprint, I don't think I've ever applied this idea of working in sprints.
Yeah. So to answer your question, thank you for sharing that. To answer your question, Michael, for the rebrand case study, we used Asana as a platform, which was great. It was very adequate. It's a culture thing. You have to really get a tool that you enjoy. For example, for the Web3 case study, we use ClickUp. Notion is very popular and free in the design community. I'm fairly agnostic because I have the tendency to work with project managers. We're using for the system right now Google, just like a Google spreadsheet or a Google Sheet. It's really the cadence of doing the stand-up of tracking a backlog, etc., which requires focus. But I have the tendency to use simple tools. So Trello was one of my favorite ever. And then it got bought by Atlassian, who they have a whole suite of tools. It's a company in Australia. So it's still Trello and it's still cool, but I don't know. Check out different ones, check out different ones that you think will work for you. Does that answer your question, Michael?
Yeah, thank you.
For me, it's as long as it's very visual and card based. What I liked about Trello is that it was just very visual and card based, and it looks actually the new one looks actually pretty good. But ClickUp I also used recently, and it's actually very easy. and it switches back. Like people are creating like these Swiss Army knives of project management tools at this point. I will not be surprised if Miro and Mural incorporate that into their tools. Like where you can have a template for a sprint, and instead of it just being cards, it's all now in a database, and it's all like movable, and like you can track, burn downs. Like I've trained a lot of teams in Agile, and this is just a question and a brainstorm. I wonder what a process might look like that, based on my experience, is adaptable by creative teams. Because honestly, without a really like without a stakeholder that is their responsibility and it's tied to the financial well-being of the company, who is managing the development of either product or marketing, etc. Creative teams have a hard time adapting specific tools. But Notion is super awesome. We've used Notion. I've used Notion on a lot of projects because that's what the client or what the team wants, and what the team wants matters. If this is for you personally, then it's your preference. Like, test a few out. Okay. I'm complete.
Thank you.
Let's do the upload. Here we go. And the upload is what? Oh, there. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. What's the one thing that you got out of today's call? And I'll add to this is one thing that you got out of today, of seeing the new Core 3 or the new release of Core. And what is one thing completely unrelated to Core that if we were to develop for you would be helpful to your practice? So like forgetting about Core for a second, Jeremiah, for you, what I now know that I need to put into 3.0 is like the example of what like an entire project from end to end looks like in a backlog form, like what activities you're doing. And in this case, it's for software development, a website, let's call it a website. And you would have to, but it also incorporates some go-to-market, etc. At least it gives you a framework and a model. Maybe I could abstract it, I don't know, for like 3.1 or for 3.2. And maybe we can have a conversation, a deeper conversation. You can DM me or reach out to me, and we can have a deeper conversation. But I can give you a lot of the I could even send you a backlog one day, like, actually, or include it into the new Core version. Like, here's an example of a project backlog in a spreadsheet, even a very simple one. Anyway, these are just brainstorms, but I got your issue or your challenge. So one thing you got out, and one thing completely unrelated to Core that you would use from an education and learning standpoint that would be useful to you. And we'll start with Sid.
Well, one thing I got out today, I think, just the connection. It's great to meet so many Core practitioners and hear their stories. So what's the question? Something unrelated to Core that I got out today?
What tool, education, or it could be related to Core, by the way.
Okay.
I just like basic. It's like the whole something old, something new. What did you get out of today? What?
Yeah, I think I got to connect with some people and hear their stories, but I also just feel like I got to help some people, which is kind of a really big part of my mission for doing this. So thank you, everyone. Oh, do you need me to pass it on to someone?
Yeah, just choose someone.
Sure. So I'll just pass it on to Jeremiah.
Awesome. Thanks, Sid. One thing that I got that I took from today is for a long time, I kind of struggled with, do I need to do all of the exercises? And I find them all very helpful, but it's nice that they're now separated into primary and secondary. So I think that's going to be very useful moving forward for people who are new to Core. In regards to a tool or feature, I'd love to see what strategy can look like after, the initial discovery, what sessions, how they can be facilitated, as an ongoing kind of, service.
Yeah. What do you do in the maintenance of the client? That's a really good one. What else?
Exactly.
What else do you do? It's a great one. Thank you, Jeremiah. And yeah, blanket statement as you share it, you know, Sid, etc. Do you guys agree, approve, or consent to the usage of the recording? Because this recording today for Core 3.0, obviously all of our office hours go, if we're on stage, go on our YouTube. But then we're beginning to make clips out of things. So like the conversations, the advice you gave, Sid, that'd be great to share in a clip form. And one of my intentions, just so that you guys know, and then as we continue this process, has always been to provide a platform for others. So Christo tells the story that the way that things got started is he was very like not doing the YouTube thing. He's like, why are we doing this? So we just gently kind of pushed it to do it. And of course, it's a conversation with an audience since I had been doing that for a while. And here at the group, at the school, the group, the system, Jesus, who's naming these things? The idea is to give you guys a platform so that you actually have a voice and are unmuted and expand your footprint. Anyway, I'll shut up. And it was Sid, Jeremiah. So the answer, yes or no?
Yes, please, I consent.
Yes. Yeah.
I consent
awesome.
too.
Awesome. As you do your upload, because I love what you guys are saying. It's so good. All right. Who's next? Somebody choose somebody. Jeremiah, I think.
I'll go with Hanya.
Yes, thank you. I just wrote in the chat, for me, a core is very important to review the business performance, to promote integration, help the staff to participate all together in decision making. And actually, the concept of core is change, and we have to validate this in our projects and in companies. And it's really very linked to project management. Will be also nice to have in the new core, Jose, some highlights related to. This is what I have. So this is my feedback about today. So core is promoting integration, which is very neat for the future. It's something
Beautiful.
Very nice, very good. Yes, Jose. I love your core.
Thank you, Hanya. Pick someone.
I would like to pick Ioana Balkan from Romania. Thank
you so much, Hanya. I couldn't participate for the drop-in, but what I found with core in general is that it's so modular and adaptable, because I have used it for solopreneurs, for bigger projects, smaller projects, and even web-free projects. And it just stood all the tests that I put it through. And also the modularity, like we were saying before, that I can, if the budget is very small, or if there's very little time, you will know which of the exercises could be most beneficial for the people you perform core with. And also I love how it's a conversation tool. And I would love to see disclaimers, meaning what is core not for.
That's a good one. That's a really
for
good
me
one.
It's important. Where can't I use it, or it's not such a good idea to use it because it won't really help anyone. And then, of course, like we've been talking about this for a while, what you core flow, and is your own version of agile sprints. I would love to see that as a complementary knowledge kit to core. Yeah.
I'm preparing myself mentally to make the jump to focus on like just kind of writing and being able to expand, core and have flow portion of it. There's all the, naming issues, et cetera, but none of that matters. It's just like, it's basically what Jeremiah is saying. How do you have the thread throughout an entire project? How do you control that in a way that's, within the values of core itself? And Hanya highlighted some really interesting ones: integration, connection, change, and inclusion. So that it definitely has, the conversation I've had with Hanya has really impacted me in the sense of cultural shifts that are happening that require us to go from old models of business to more inclusive and like integrated business models that or ways of doing business, which is an interesting kind of angle to the whole thing. So I appreciate that conversation. Pick someone you wanna.
Andy, are you able to do the
Thanks,
upload?
Ioana.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you. Let's see, what I got out of today's session is just a reinvigoration with the, just the core framework. And just the community aspect. I don't really get any, I mean, I know you've been doing, I guess, these sessions. I haven't really participated. This is the first time, and it's really nice to just hear from everybody, other core practitioners, and it just gives me that confidence more to just keep going with this. I really love all the, I guess, how it's evolved and all the new sort of terminologies that feels a lot more clear. And I think what would be really cool to see for me is, so like the customer, now it's called the customer journey. I remember I used to use the impact narrative a lot. And I would love to see like case studies of like how, this was put on paper, and then what did it actually look like in the real world, and then like measuring that and seeing like, potentially how they may have pivoted or something like that, and what that came out of it. I mean, like during the strategy process, we do our best to try to, see what that is, but sometimes, it's not exactly what we, the outcome that we wanted, but that part to me is so, that's the strategy, I like that a lot right now. My client is like, I've done the website, I've done the identity, but it's like now trying to put all the moving parts now. Like, how do we get someone from, the awareness to, buying your product to being the advocate? Like, I would love to actually see that, from the brainstorming part. I didn't really get a chance to share this part, or wondering, but like I noticed that like sometimes when I'm doing the strategy work, like the attributes and stuff like that, the culture and the voice and stuff like that, and we'll go through stuff, and then sometimes I would come back to it again, and it's completely different in terms of like what those things are, because at the beginning it becomes like this wish list, but I feel like it's very like surface level, like when we're bringing them through the process. But once we start to go through the process, we come back, and I feel like the answers start to become a lot more meaningful when we go through that process again. So I'm curious, does anybody else kind of go through that as well? Yeah, thank you.
Let me synthesize the question again in just one sentence.
Sure.
For me.
That process from creating brand attributes and going down, is that a linear process, or is that something that you flow back into later on again?
If you watch, I'll answer it from my point of view, and anybody's welcome to answer. If you watch me doing design lives, you'll actually see how I'm pulling from the attributes into the decisions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We did a design jam. It's one of our previous recordings, which was very interesting because different people translate attributes differently. So one of the reasons why, and this is where you get into the subjectivity of art, right? No, I don't like that direction. I don't like the color. My husband doesn't like the color, whatever it is. That's why I always present 3 stylescapes, minimum 2, just direction, so that people have contrast. And if you watch the live sessions, they're about 45 minutes, 30 minutes to 45 minutes, or some are like 15 minutes a piece. The client's actually in the live sessions, and they're like giving live feedback, like, oh, I like that, I don't like that, or like they're just basically, so 1, A, B, C, D, that kind of play, like, ooh, what about this? Ooh, what about that? A lot of designers aren't comfortable with that. And the reason I do it so much publicly is because that was one of my strengths and one of my gifts when I was a designer in my early career. It was like getting people together, making people connection. If you look at my core, the X factor is connection. So yeah, you're going to interpret it in different ways. I would love to write the thinking. Actually, the first 5 things in the circle at the beginning of core that are all on Medium, those articles, that's actually the formula. It's like part of it is your own personal point of view, part of it is cultural context, part of it is like what the client likes, right? So all those dimensional things determines that. Part of it is your skill level. If you look at my design work, it's always kind of like playful and colorful and a little bit obnoxious. That's me. Now, do I change that for a client? I always give them variations. I always do a version that has a little bit of me in it. And if they, and many times my ego is very hurt because they don't pick mine. So the 3 directions, right? The stylescapes, there's the direction, and you'll see that in the Web3 example that I showed you guys actually. Oh, here, I'll talk about my ego for a second here. Like there's 3 directions so I actually put the direction references into the brief so that the client gives us feedback, and I do tell the client, hey, it's going to be mild, medium, and spicy, like if you were at a restaurant, and the mild is the closest to your current direction where you are, the medium is like a little bit more, and the spicy, and you can see that I was really advocating for the spicy because I was doing spicy, and the stylescape is that I'm showing here, even though there's other stylescapes that I didn't show here, are mine. And we did this this was done overnight. Like the presentation was the next day. We did core one morning, and then we had stylescapes the next day. We were running at like crazy Web3 space, which is like insane, right? But because I know the process so well, and I knew the designers, I had primed the pump and had gotten them to start designing even before we presented it to the client. That's a trick. Anyway, but the point is that when you see that, this one is definitely my point of view, also functionally. And they ended up doing a direction the team did, and later the client returned to something more similar to some of this original directions, and they're using the font system. And my influence in the company over time was about simplification, and it continued, even though now it looks a little dorky, or not dorky, wonky. Not wonky, just very conservative comparative to some other things. But that's the point, that it's subjective, and you have to kind of measure it and flow with it. And I don't know if anybody else has anything else to say about that. But thank you. That's a really great. Anything else you want to add, Andy? Thank you for being here, and I hope you come back again. We do these every Thursday, at 11, and we're trying out that time because it's a Friday, especially during the holidays. We were like, I'm going to go get me some eggnog. What else? Or you can choose somebody to go next.
Oh no, that was good. Thank you so much, Jose. Thanks so much. I guess I'll pick Todd. If you're
Todd's a little bit under the weather.
Okay.
But is there anybody left? Hania went. Sid, did you go? Yep. Michael, did you go?
No, I'll go.
You and Christina, did you go?
No, I didn't go yet.
All right. So Michael and Christina. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go. So the one thing I got today was to reconnect the familiar faces and the concepts. And one thing I would like to see is digital democracy tools, something like ranked choice voting, line item voting. And I'm currently researching Audrey Tang, who is the digital minister of Taiwan, who is a child prodigy that's grown up, has done a lot with this in Taiwan. So I'm trying to figure out how we can implement that here and how core and its tools might work doing that.
I love that. I mean, that's something that is super powerful and near and dear to my heart. And it's very much part of Web3 and the future and decentralization. So I noted it. Mural, by the way, has voting and stack ranking features, and in the 3.0, there's a screenshot in one of the core tips that say, hey, you can use Mural's voting, because we used it instead of like me like choosing people or whatever, like the really chaotic way of doing it with core. All we said is like, it was silent. It was like, we're done. Now you have 2 minutes, people vote, and it's anonymous. So, or I don't know if it's anonymous. I think it is. It's anonymous. Is it anonymous, Ioana? Oh, yeah, that's a good question. The Discord link, I'm going to post it. I think it is. Oh, shit. That's not the Discord. Anyway, but
I guess another thing
thank
would
you
be
for
reputational ranking, because you know the better the contributor, more weight they would have, that kind of thing.
That's also your reputation manager. That's a great one too, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anything else you got, or what do you want to see? Oh, that's what you want to see. Digital democracy, voting tools. Beautiful. Thank you, brother. Much appreciate you. I always appreciate your point of view and actually what you're about, like what you're pushing towards. I actually personally, it impacts me a lot. So thank you for sharing.
Well, then I may just be contacting you to get you involved with some other people trying to do this.
Right now I'm working on core, so I ain't doing nothing but core all day. It's a lot of work. But thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. You can reach out. You can always reach out. I'm happy to always you always have my ear, for anyone who knows that.
Yeah, this is a lot of work too, but it's very exciting to me.
And to you, the top secret reason to introduce core into the system. This is like at the end, so nobody's going to watch it till here. And if you notice the new illustration, it's actually I've been reading a lot of Buckminster Fuller and the role of design engineering and change. And this is the bridge between what Hanya's talking about. So like the people here, we all represent like the unity and union of what's happening, right? But we're doing it to businesses and small businesses and medium businesses everywhere, right? And slowly getting this kind of new way of working and facilitating and making it more in flow, less hierarchical, like just a new way of working, which is a very Latin thing. And one of the reasons why Web3 colors and the colors we're using are so obnoxious, it's like, woo! Also, just to get us to a stage in humanity that we are able to come together and design the future together, which is the tagline, if that makes sense. And we're doing it. We are doing it one day at a time. So I'm really appreciative of you, Michael. Christina, last but not least.
All right. Well, basically, I got a lot of value in this call today. A lot to digest, but I want to say thank you, everyone, Jose, Sid, Ioana, for all your feedback with my current issue. But all great information to take with me and figure out how I want to move forward with the client. So again, thank you very much for all your help. And in terms of tools and features, I think just those troubleshooting scenarios would be very fun.
I love that. It's an FAQ, basically, troubleshooting. I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We've reached a portion of our program where it's music and no cookies, which is a very, very inside thing. Long story short, cookies have a lot of sugar. And I had a very sugary cookie. The first time we did it, it got really hyper. So that's why we do it. But so we're done. We're gonna log off in just a second, but anybody, say your goodbyes, say final last words, whatever. That's how we do it at the end. So Andy, this is an opportunity for anything. Say anything is this part of the program.
Yeah.
This is at church when you're walking out and everyone's shaking hands. How you doing, man? How you doing, Fred? How you doing, Cindy? That's this part.
Cool. Just want to say thank you, Jose, for just creating the program. Like I said, it's really changed my life in terms of my livelihood. It's given me tools to really decide what is it that I really want to create with the framework to work with. So I'm really appreciative of what you've created. I am very thankful for everybody here today as well, just for your presence and just for being all of you. And I'm pretty proud to be a part of this community.
Wow! Bravo. Woo! Very lovely. No, thank you very much, Jose. You are great. Your energy is incredible. It's really crossing the globe. You notice different countries, different people in different places all the time with CORE. This is also a big contribution. It's a global contribution, Jose.
I hear you, Hania, and I'm not gonna respond. I'll respond at the end if anybody else wants to speak. I'll just. I hear you.
No, I'm finished.
Thank you. I hear you and I receive it. Thank you.
Yes, you receive the energy and the thank you. And I wanted to tell you that really you are facing this globally. You are really speaking with people in Philippines, in Germany, in United Kingdom, outside from Los Angeles. And people is following you. And people believe in CORE, people believe in change, people are really trying to find more applications for CORE. This is a psychology, it is inclusion, and it's a movement. We are the system. Wait. Yes. I would say thank you very much.
Thank you, Hania. You're amazing. And science.
Science, yes, I believe in science. The COVID came. Who say? Who was? Who give the answer? The scientists. We have the power. God is a scientist. But when the scientists, we need more communication. We need to be more able to contact the society and to understand more the needs of the society to contribute much better, And this is a new tendency now in Europe, and CORE is a really very good tool in project management to forward, to move it.
Project management it's come up multiple times in all our conversations. So yeah.
Yes, but now I realize there is something on the air. I was at the beginning by myself, but there are more people following it. And nice to meet you. And
see everybody soon.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.